What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. Friday Night Ticket. Mish, we have talked lines on Tuesday's live stream, and here we are now. Time to put those picks in. We've actually already submitted our Golden Nugget picks, but our Super Contest picks, not yet in yet.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, some differentiation in the lines in both college and pro from the Golden Nugget to the Super Contest. And I think in both college and pro, some really interesting games this week. And the lines, as you can see, Howard, as you move into October and November, they start getting really tight in both sports. You're not seeing as many big lines out there as you were before. And I'm sure that you hear it, and I hear it too, that survivor pools are getting real thick right now too. It's a lot tougher to stay involved in these and try and pick these games because you just never know who's going to win on a weekly basis. But we have 7 picks for the Golden Nugget contest and, of course, 5 for the Westgate Super Contest. And as we continue to roll on, we'll bring them to each and every Friday night.
Now, as far as survivor pools go, yes, it has been a bear for a number of people. I'm in one that's just, people are just getting thumped left and right, me included. There's another one, though, that I'm in where as you hit week 6, all of a sudden they start taking games off.
Yeah, 9.5, right?
Yeah, can't do anything 9.5 or more, or 10 or more. So it gets a little crazy there. Everybody wants to target against the Miami Dolphins, which in a regular survivor pool is pretty good until you have to double up on the Patriots, the Jets, or the Bills. Nevertheless, problematic.
Well, let's kind of pose that question before we start here. If you could only pick one team to guarantee a win in the survivor pool, and you couldn't use Buffalo, but you had your choice of San Francisco or New England, who would be your pick? Who are you more confident in that wins outright?
Oh, I guess I would have to say that I'd be more confident in San Francisco. I would.
I feel that way too.
Washington's terrible, dude.
I feel that Washington has a better chance to cover the spread, but I think the Jets could win the game outright. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like the Jets game, you were going to know right away if we have a shot in that one. I don't think it's going to take very long to figure that out. Washington, I know the weather is also potentially a factor this week too, so we'll keep an eye on that, and maybe the Redskins will show up in our picks this week. We'll see. And maybe the Jets will too.
Are you kidding? Dude, or that now all of a sudden, now you're getting a little crazy on me here, Craig. I don't know if we can handle that.
Two big home dogs? Two big dogs?
Two big dogs, one home dog. Oh, both home dogs. Look at that.
Both home dogs, yeah.
Oh, all right, maybe we'll think about it. In the meantime, why don't we start off with a little college football here right now. First pick on the board here. This is a favorite of yours. I looked into it a little bit. I enjoyed what I believe you have as far as your research goes. Ole Miss taking them plus 6.5 against Texas A&M.
Yep, watched that game last week against for Texas A&M against Alabama. I got to say I was thoroughly disappointed. I know that there are some games throughout the season that you're going to watch and you're going to get a little clue on, and this was one of them for me with watching Texas A&M. I didn't think that they would beat Alabama, but they didn't put up a fight at all. And then I started doing a little bit more research, and I saw that they really don't have any impressive wins this season. I'm kind of wondering if that top 25 ranking that they had was kind of a paper top 25. So they may be one of the more overrated teams in college football for me. And on the Mississippi side, after a couple of games of really struggling, they put in this new freshman, this kid, John Reese Plumlee, and if he rushes for 100 yards this week, he'll tie Cam Newton's all-time SEC record for consecutive 100-yard rushing games. He's really turned their offense around. Not surprising at all because Rich Rodriguez is their offensive coordinator. Remember, the former head coach at Arizona and Michigan, and now he's the offensive coordinator, believe it or not, at Mississippi. But he's done a really good job so far. Their defense isn't really good, so that scares me somewhat. But I do think that this is a back-and-forth game. Texas A&M has dominated the series since they joined the SEC, but the games have been pretty close. So I think that the Rebels have a chance to win on Saturday night. By the way, just for fun and just for a fun narrative, we'll see if this ends up playing itself out. You always want an SEC team at home on a Saturday night. The line is, by the way, 5 now. And then the capper on this one, Howard, and I know that you will enjoy this, is for the first time in Ole Miss history, they are going to be serving beer at the stadium on Saturday night for their fans. So you can only imagine what this place is going to be like on Saturday night. We're going to take Mississippi plus those points on Saturday.
It's like one giant fraternity party.
It's going to be wild.
It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. No doubt about it. Love that pick. Next pick, this goes to what we were talking about on Tuesday, and that's targeting against Rutgers. We're looking at Minnesota here. Laying 28.5 points here. We only laid 28 last time.
Yeah, we just got to keep going against Rutgers until they prove otherwise. They're 1-5 against the spread. We talked about this last week. They've been blown out 2 consecutive weeks. They've allowed 200 rushing yards 3 of the last 4 games. Howard, they threw for 1 passing yard last week. I mean, I don't care who they're playing against, and Minnesota's a really good team. They're ranked in the top 25. The only thing that worries me a little bit is they're more of a ball control team, so we're going to need them to be like up 17-0 or something like that in the half. Their defense is really good too, but I kind of anticipate more points from Minnesota than what we saw last week with Indiana, so I kind of see it like as a 47-10 type game, as if Rutgers decides to try in this one a little bit at the end. I think that Minnesota will capitalize on that, and again, the Scarlet Knights are playing without their quarterback. They're playing without their running back. They're playing without their coach at the beginning of the season. Until Rutgers covers the spread, we're just going to keep going against them. And that's just seems to be the right thing to do. So not a lot of suave, smooth handicapping here. It's just we're gonna fade Rutgers until they prove otherwise.
Just keep pounding against Rutgers. No doubt about it. No, listen, if we were doing like a college survivor pool, we'd be targeting against Rutgers.
This would be the pick. Of all the picks this week. Even more than taking Alabama against Tennessee. Alabama's, I think, 33 against Tennessee this week. That's just crazy.
Oh, I saw it at 34.5 earlier in the day.
Wow. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Look, Alabama, it's, when we do the live stream, I think we owe it to people for sure listening to the live stream to have a pick. Whether or not we use in the Super Contest is one thing, but that's the basic college football Super Bowl of the regular season. I mean, it will not get any better than that, Howard. It will be the best college football game of the season. You have number 1 versus number 3 or 4, depending on where LSU is. LSU's coming off a huge win against the Gators, where it was very close, and then they pulled away late. LSU's offense is just rolling right now with Joe Burrow. The winner of that game, Howard, the Heisman Trophy winner, is going to the winner of that game between LSU and Alabama. It sets up to be. It always sets up to be one of the biggest college football games of the year, but this is really the magnitude of this one is crazy. The other part of it, though, what's interesting, Howard, when you think about it, is that Clemson will be in the playoff for sure as we get closer to the end. They're not going to lose a game, and then you have Oklahoma, you have Ohio State. Provided that those two don't lose games, you could make a case for them. But the question that everyone seems to be asking, Howard, I don't know how about you feel about this, but what happens if LSU and Alabama play and one team wins by 1 point? Is there a chance that both those two teams still stay in that playoff and then play each other again in the first round of the college football playoff? I think that exists. It's possible.
I think it definitely exists, and I'm all for it. Listen, the whole playoff system is about getting the best teams in there playing competitive football. And listen, I think if you're talking about a 1-point game between Alabama and LSU, all right, it's a pretty sick game to watch. Why wouldn't you want to see a rematch of that? That's like finishing watching Rocky and being like, well, he didn't beat Apollo. Who cares if he fights him again? Like it would be like that.
I would definitely want to see it, and I think that the one thing that people also have to keep in mind, don't forget. Now I understand that Ohio State, metrics wise and statistically, is ranking in the top 3. Oklahoma is also definitely in that conversation. Their schedules are easier. But let's not forget what happened last year where they decided to sneak Notre Dame in this thing, and it was the worst college football game of the year. You said it best. Don't put the teams that are ranked the highest. Put the best teams in the top 4, please. We don't want any blowouts in the playoff.
Right.
And Notre Dame wasn't even close. They could not hang at all in that game last year. It was a disaster. So I don't want to see that again this year. By the way, Notre Dame is ranked 8th. They're right on the precipice of getting in. I got news for you. It doesn't matter. They're not putting them in this year. I don't care. They're going to win every game the rest of the year. Will not matter.
Not after what we saw last.
No way. No.
All right. So we're 2 picks in. Ole Miss plus 6.5. Minnesota minus 28.5. Next pick up here. I'm going back to the well again. Texas Tech. I'm going to take them. This time as a home dog. Mm-hmm. Listen, they played Baylor really well last week.
They did.
really well. It ended up going, double overtime. Baylor ended up
6-3 at the half.
Yeah. Oh, they both exploded in the second half. It was fantastic. So they take them to double overtime. Now they're going up against Iowa State. Again, Iowa State, good team, solid team, not good against the run. I think they struggle against teams that go run heavy. I think they're giving up, just a ridiculous number of rushing yards on the floor. I don't necessarily know if Texas Tech wins this one outright. We thought with Baylor, wasn't sure if they were going to win it outright, but it's enough to stay close here. It's enough to get that 7 points. And I think that there is the potential of an outright win, but I'll just take my 7.
Yeah, Texas Tech, they have a running back I saw in the second half. I didn't watch the first half last week, but this kid just came out of nowhere. This kid, Thompson, their running back, had 150 yards, a monster game. I think they're going to start leaning on him more. I hadn't heard a lot about him. I had to go back and do research. He didn't really play at the beginning of the season, and he came out in a big way. The other thing that you want to pay attention to this time of the year, and statistically speaking, look, you're not going to win every single time with this, and you're not going to win probably even 60% of the time. But it is a solid idea to take teams on their homecoming game, and this is the homecoming game for Texas Tech at home, getting points. So I do agree with that. I like to play.
Oh, homecoming! I didn't even know that. Look at you.
I do my research on all of these games.
I dig that,
unfortunately,
man.
I
didn't see that.
All right, to this point.
Fourth game we want to look at here. I love my academies. You know I do.
We have been very good with these academies.
Really
the Naval Academies, if you guys are watching us, you guys should know. We picked you guys a lot.
Right? There was one game. Really there was one game that we lost. It was Army, and they didn't cover a spread. And that was it. But I mean, every time that we go to this,
the last 2 years, we've been right on all of these. Yeah, we have done well with these guys.
So here we go. I'm taking Navy. I'm dropping the 14 points. South Florida. The team is, it's lifeless. It's absolutely lifeless. Charlie Strong is the coach, and nobody
not for long
him there. Right. Yeah. I mean, we know he's on his way out. The players know he's on his way out. This team is quitting on him. I'm looking at this. You look at Navy, number one rushing offense in the country.
Yeah.
In the country.
Yeah.
And then probably one of the better defenses out there right now also. So I like this one here and laying the 14. I'm not scared.
Yeah, they already have more wins than they had all of last year. They're going to go way over their number for the season, and also sets up an interesting Army-Navy game coming up in December, because Army's really good too. Usually one team or the other is lacking a little bit, but we're going to have a great matchup there for sure. Navy's quarterback, Malcolm Perry, may be one of the best academy quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. He's one of the top quarterbacks that rushes the ball in the country. So, look, certainly I watched that game last week between BYU and South Florida. And look, USF is just not a really good team. They didn't play, and BYU is really falling apart also. They've lost a couple of quarterbacks as well. And that didn't really mean anything for South Florida. So, look, it's hard to say that a team has quit, but it's pretty obvious at this point that Charlie Strong, who I know very well, used to coach at the University of Florida, and one of the few people who addressed me by my first name when I saw him. That's what I always liked about Charlie Strong. But unfortunately, from Florida to head coach at Louisville and now coach at South Florida, my guy Charlie may have to go back to, going to one of the top schools, but maybe being a defensive coordinator. I don't know. It just hasn't gone well for him at USF. And if I'm not mistaken, they lost their last 6 games of last year. So, yeah, it just continues to trend downward.
There you go. So there we go. We're going 4 college picks in the Golden Nugget. Ole Miss 6.5 plus 6.5, Minnesota minus 28.5, Texas Tech plus 7, Navy minus 14. Got 3 NFL games that we want to jump to. I just want to give a little shout out to Monkey Knife Fight. If you want like prop picks, prop games, Monkey Knife Fight, go to fantasyalarm.com/monkey, and they'll do like a match deposit on you give you like a free $10 for your deposit. So fantasyalarm.com/monkey, Monkey Knife Fight, prop picks. Enjoy.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much for sponsoring the Wager Alarm live stream. Now let's get to the NFL.
All right.
This one. It's interesting. I don't like a lot of the lines this week. Just overall, in the sense that it's a tough week. This is a tough week, and I'm actually feeling really good about our picks, which is interesting in a tough week here. But the first one right off the bat was one of the ones that stuck out to me immediately when it first opened. was Green Bay against the Raiders. The Raiders were actually when I think it first opened, it was at 6.5. The Raiders were getting, and I was totally in on that. Right now for the Nugget, it's Raiders plus 5.5. I'm still good with that. I don't buy into Green Bay at all.
I don't either.
Yeah. So not to mention now their offense is taking even more hits as now their top 3 wide receivers are going to be out of this game. Granted, they're run first, but it's a suspect running game. The defense is great against the pass. It's terrible against the run. I like the Raiders. I like Josh Jacobs smashing in this one here. I don't necessarily know if they win it outright. It's the same thing as I said with Detroit. I don't know if they win this game outright, but I think that they cover this spread, and I'm in on the Raiders plus 5.5.
Yeah, the Raiders are one of those finicky teams that are really hard to figure. They beat the Colts. They beat the Bears. Like, you don't see that coming. And now the question is, are the Raiders for real or not? Because that AFC with Mahomes' injury is kind of wide open. If Oakland was to win this game, Howard, you could start making the case for them as a playoff team. And you could start making the case as John Gruden as the coach of the year with those kind of wins happening this season. And Gruden, of course, coached in Green Bay. Look, this is a great spot for Oakland. Coming off a bye, the Packers coming off Monday night. The way that I kind of see this game playing out is the way that Packers games have played out more or less all year, which is this new LaFleur offense is a lot of running the ball, and I think that there's going to be a lot more of this. Now, look, Rodgers is his own guy. We saw last week what he did on the sideline. He asked if Alan Lazard was available, and LaFleur called for him, put him in the game, and then he immediately threw a touchdown to him. And that's great for Lazard and Kuberow and these guys that he's going to be throwing to this week. But the Packers would be really smart to be thrilled with a 1-point win in this game, just to get in there and get out of there and be done. I hate taking the fact that the Raiders are just continually going on the road. They went on the road in Indianapolis. They went on the road to London. Now they're on the road in Green Bay. But they had the bye week in between. And Josh Jacobs is a big name here. I honestly went into the season not thinking very much of him, seeing him play at Alabama. I always thought he was kind of a bit guy, but did more against the Bears last week than he's done in any game all season long. And clearly their top target is Waller. I think it will be a close game, but I do think that the Raiders have an excellent chance of winning this game outright, and that would completely change our view on them this season, Howard.
Oh, 100% change our view. I think everybody was kind of laughing at the way Gruden put everything together last season. So, yeah, listen, I'll tell you, dude, again, it's like when it's Raiders Broncos, I won't touch the game at all. Like, for whatever reason, that series, I always blow. But looking at the Raiders, I mean, it was nice. I liked them with points against Chicago. I wasn't putting any action on it because it was the London game, and you never know how teams are really going to respond there. But I like it a lot. I do. Yeah. So Raiders.
Yeah, and the important thing with this also is not just for our contest, but for those of you who do actually wager on these games as well, whether they're ours or anybody else's. That's one of the biggest discrepancies of the season between the two contests, and we'll talk about it when we get to the Super Contest. We're getting a point less in the Super Contest than we are in the Golden Nugget. And by the way, if you bet this game on Monday, you got 6 points.
Yes.
So a lot of the money is coming in on Oakland, which is a little bit scary. You usually want to be on the other side of the way that the public is coming in. But I do think it is the right side. And as Howard mentioned, if you don't have Devontae Adams, that's one thing. But Valdez-Scantling and Geronimo Allison, I mean, if Rodgers wins this game, he's literally a magician with those other guys. And by the way, no real burners there either. No guy that can really stretch the field. So I would, if I said a fake prop, Howard, over under, I would say that I would put their total rushes in the game close to 40 for Green Bay. I think they're just going to pound the ball with both of those guys. That plays into what we want, like a 3-point type game.
Yeah, just keep it nice and close for me. All right, second game that we're looking at here, going with a favorite this time. Jaguars, minus 3.5 against the Bengals. They're in Cincinnati. Bengals just continue to fall apart. Even after this line, stuck here for the contests. You looked at the Bengals. Cordy Glenn suspended him, so they're down another offensive lineman. Yep. They're getting back Dequise Denard, their cornerback, but they already lost Jackson and they lost Kirkpatrick. So this team is it's up and down, having a lot of issues here. I look at Jacksonville, as a team that's just going to run real heavy on them in this, with Leonard Fournette doing his work. But listen, I think Minshew likes to throw the ball around a little bit. If he's good for like 200, 220 yards, maybe a touchdown to DJ Chark. But, they don't need to do more than that. But, I mean, I think as far as like a lead goes in this game and being able to hold on to it, I know that Cincinnati did the backdoor cover last week for us, but
and the week before
they were getting 11 points in that one. Now they're only getting 3.5. So
yeah, they've been good at covering. This will be the value play of the week for sure, because this line, by the time they kick off, is going to be 5 or 6. Right now, I'm seeing 4.5. And so value for us, maybe not so much value for you if you're betting on the game. If you are, I would advise doing it now, because this is just going to keep going up. And Howard is right. The other thing too with the Bengals is, and it's somewhat of a fate of the Bengals, but I would endorse Jacksonville. Everyone comes out of those Saints games looking so bad, but the Saints defense is really good. So let's not forget about that. Minshew threw for over 300 yards the game before against Carolina. He just fumbled the ball late. They lost the game. They could have easily won that one. And in terms of Cincinnati, I think that they, at this point, I don't know that they go full Dolphins, but Howard, I would think they take a look in the mirror at this point and say, okay, like, what's the point here? Like, we may as well. I don't say any team is advocating tanking, but when teams aren't playing their guys to start the game, it kind of gives you an indication as to what they're thinking. So Cincinnati is best served to at least secure the second pick overall in the draft, because there's no doubt that Tua will probably be the first pick overall. And then Cincinnati, of any team in the NFL that needs a quarterback, Cincinnati is just as much a needed one as Miami. So I think that the Bengals get slaughtered by Jacksonville on Sunday.
I love it. And then finally, our third game, our 7th pick here for the Golden Nugget, our third game in the NFL. We're doing it. Monday Night Football, baby. Jets. Jets. 9.5 points. Jets home dogs here. Listen, this team is definitely a different football team with and without Sam Darnold. I'm not going to sit here and purport that the Jets are going to win this game outright. I'm not going to sit here and sing like these, ungodly praises to how great this football team is. But it's a passing game that that the Patriots need to respect. You got a ground game that the Patriots need to respect with Lev Bell. And I think that this is a game where we saw the difference of Sam Darnold coming back and what happens to this team and the life that it does show. And I think for at home on Monday Night Football, I think this game at least stays close.
Yeah, I liked the Patriots last week, and they were largely unimpressive against the Giants, but I did think that they would cover that. They did late in the game. It was really the only side for me, honestly, in that one. And the reason why they covered was 2 reasons. First of all, their defense was and has been unbelievable. They scored a defensive touchdown again, and then they posted a late touchdown. And that's the thing about the Patriots that you're going against when you're going against them and the spread, is that they're not going to try and stop scoring. One of the few Monday night games I think that we've had all year. I don't know that we've had a lot of Monday night games. Have we even taken one all year?
Yeah, do you think we did? I think Pittsburgh going to San Francisco, the Mason Rudolph first game. That was a Monday night. Or was that a Sunday night?
No, that was Sunday. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it was a Dallas game. We've picked a Monday nighter.
Well, either way, it'll be interesting to see.
I think we're 1-0.
I think that you've heard me say this on live streams before. This is the one game on the board. First 10 minutes, we're gonna know. If New England is just smacking them around and goes up 21-0, we're probably dead. But I do think that the Jets have a legitimate chance to stay in this. I don't know if New England's going to go 16-0, but I know this: they're not going to go 16-0 against the spread. And they certainly 2 weeks ago, when they played against Buffalo, they didn't look very good on the road there. They didn't cover that game. So I'm not really sure what's going on with New England's offense. But Gordon is not the same player, and they really don't have anyone on the roster that can stretch the field. So we just have to be aware of those long passing touchdowns by Brady. If that's not going to happen, certainly the Jets could do that. So I would expect the Jets to play very competitive at home, good environment. The line is strange. I don't get it. It's almost like sucking me in to take the Jets too, along with you, Howard. So it feels weird doing it, because usually when I see these, I'm like, something is wrong. The Jets should not be 10-point, because they're 10 now. 10-point underdogs at home, but we are going to roll with it. Monday night home dogs historically have the highest winning percentage of any play in the NFL. So we'll take the home dog on Monday night.
Take the home dog. So those are our picks for the Golden Nugget. Now we're taking our three NFL picks, we're bringing those over to the Super Contest. So Jags minus 3.5, Jets plus 9.5. But as Craig said before, the Raiders actually only getting 4.5 in this game against Green Bay. We're both confident enough in the pick that we're going to take this anyway. I don't like losing that point. That was actually one of the things that kind of unnerved me. We were doing the Michigan-Iowa game. And I said to you, I was like, I feel like I want to pivot off of that because I'm actually not getting the point that I thought I was getting.
That's true, but there's a big difference, and another lesson to be learned is that if you're going from 3.5 to 2.5, which is what that was, that's a big difference because then you're talking about a field goal. But how often, Howard, do games really land on 5? Not very often, almost never.
No, it was 4.5 to 3.5 is really what it was.
Was the last one?
Yep.
Okay.
Was the Michigan-Iowa one, yeah.
Okay. Well, again, still another game that really shouldn't matter all that much. There are some landing on 4s. I will say that. There are a lot of 24-20s, 17-13s, 28-24s. Right. 4 is one of the magic numbers. 5 is not a magic number in football. So after kind of thinking it through a little bit and saying, if we really like the Raiders getting 5.5, we really should like them getting 4.5 too. So we'll come back on Tuesday if it lands on 5, and you can pie me in the face.
Oh. Book it. You guys heard it.
Only if it lands on 5.
Mark that. If it lands on 5, there we go. All right, but so there we go. So we're taking the Raiders 4.5. We're taking the Jags. We're laying 3.5. The Jets 9.5.
Yes.
2 games left here. First one, Minnesota. I love this offense. I'm taking them -1 over the Lions on the road. I'm just a firm believer. Listen, Minnesota, I think, has a great defense as is. Okay, so I'm comfortable with on that front there going up against Matt Patricia's offense, which really doesn't even have an identity right now. They want to run more, but then they hold Kerryon Johnson back against the Packers. I don't think Darrell Bevell really knows what he wants as far as this offense goes. They want Stafford to throw. They don't want Stafford to throw. So it's really kind of an up and down situation. So when you got Minnesota's defense, I'm comfortable in that matchup. On the other side here, I love this offense. And I think what Kubiak, Dennison, Stefanski, Zimmer, what they all did is now they've treated the regular season like you would see a team treat a single football game. They spent the first 3 weeks establishing the run. It was run heavy, run heavy, run heavy, run heavy. Dalvin Cook is the man. And here you go, guys. If you're going to beat us, you need to stop the run. What did they do the last 3 weeks? Throw. Diggs has 2 games with over 100 yards in each one, 3 touchdowns last week. Thielen was money in the bank the week before that. So now I look at this matchup here and I'm like, what does Detroit do? How does Detroit handle this defensively? Do they sell out to stop the run, or do they have to end up, making sure that they're covering the pass? I don't think they have the horses to keep up with them.
Yeah, I think that Minnesota probably now goes on a real good run and then inevitably disappoints in the playoffs because there is Cousins. But it was smart 2 weeks ago for Minnesota to just basically take the reins off Cousins a little bit. You can't make him a guy that's scared. You can't do that. Look, he's going to have some huge stinkers. This could be one of them. We don't know. At some point during the season, he's going to throw 1 touchdown and 4 picks. I don't know. I still don't know that he could win a big game in the NFL, but they had to go back and do things differently after seeing that game against the Bears a few weeks ago. And that's always been my issue with Minnesota. I've had a hard time predicting when they're going to win or lose. The line is now up to 1.5. And I got to wonder, Howard, how the Lions are going to respond after having that game really stolen from them with the refs. Are they going to get up for this one this week? I would hope so. It is the NFL. The other thing that I would worry about with Detroit is if they don't win this game, could this be like a tailspin situation that we've seen from the Lions over the last few years, where they kind of start off making you believe a little bit and then they just roll right through Thanksgiving, losing every game? Could be the case. So we'll take Minnesota -1.5. So that's our 4th one. And then our 5th one is the ugly one, obviously. Got to have one ugly one every week.
Filthy.
And we're going to take the Redskins +9.5 at home. I would never take Washington with Haskins at quarterback. I would never take Washington with McCoy at quarterback. But I got to tell you, Keenum and McLaurin have a good thing going. And I think that keeps them in the game. I mean, look, the 49ers are clearly the better team. They're coming off the biggest win in that franchise, in 5 years, going to the Rams and winning. There just has to be a little bit of a letdown, I think, coming this week. Weather could be also a factor in this game. It's a home dog of 9.5 points. 49ers are more or less a running team also. We may require a backdoor in this one, but I watched Washington play against Miami last week. I got to tell you, even though they could have lost the game, their offense wasn't that bad. They didn't play that bad. And with McLaurin and Keenum, I think that they have a chance to stay in this thing. So, look, there aren't a lot of great games to choose from, let's be honest. So
there aren't. So I'll take the points. I'll take the home dog. And listen, I haven't been sold on San Francisco anyway. Or at least their secondary. I get it. Their front seven's great. Nick Bosa looks fantastic as a pass rusher. Quan Alexander looks great in the middle. I'm not banking on Richard Sherman at his age being this lockdown, shutdown cornerback the rest of the way. And I don't look at that, them, in the middle of the field with the safety position as being the be-all, end-all. So I think that there is the possibility of a letdown here, just in the sense that McLaurin does end up splitting coverage and ends up doing a little something over there. Paul Richardson has seen, from his days in Seattle, has seen plenty of Shanahan's team. And so I look at this one and I say, I hate all the other games. I hate all the other spreads.
That's really the point, is that we're at the point where you got teams on bye weeks, and Howard and I discussed before the show, like, there's just no side for me between the Chargers and Titans, as an example. Right. Like, I mean, come on. Like you can flip a coin in that game, but you honestly can't give me any professional handicap that would lead you believe that you literally know one way or the other.
Same thing with Colts Texans.
Exactly the same thing. I mean, come on. Like, the game is tight. Colts are at home. Texans are playing great, but the Colts would seem to be, at a good spot. It's a coin flip. Dallas, if we're getting 3 points with Philadelphia on Sunday night, that would be something to entertain. But we're not. And look, the way that Dallas has played, do you really know which Dallas team is going to show up? With the way Philly has played, do you really have a clue? It's a division game. So, look, we got to pick. It's not easy to pick one or two winners in the NFL, let alone five. And so we gave more or less to you in the order that we picked them. So we're riding back with the dogs like we did early on in the season, which gave us a lot of success, and hopefully it will this weekend.
All right, so there you go, guys. Those are our super contest picks. Vikings -1, Raiders +4.5, Jags -3.5, Redskins +9.5, Jets +9.5. So there we go. It was all laid out for you there. I'll post the tickets as soon as they come in to me, and as we always do, that way it gives you enough time if you do want to lay a little action down on some of the college games on Saturday, by all means, and then obviously the NFL ones as well. So that's going to do it for us tonight here on Friday night. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Big thanks to Matt Sells for all his production work. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.